you'll have that knowledge so real can recognize real. What does this individual on Reddit and their 20-year childhood with Amway and their mom doing the business have to do with anything? Well, I'm going to cover that in today's video, and as you can see here, this is the Reddit post on the anti-MLM subreddit, and it says my mother's 20+ years long fanaticism with Amway and how it impacted my childhood. So we're just going to read that and provide the other side, because with any anti-MLM post, it's going to be heavily focused on just that anti-MLM, which is typically anti-reason in a lot of cases, but there is some valid points that are made, and I want to provide the other side and provide a reasonable response, because it affects in general how we think about network marketing and MLM companies. So this individual says, my mother has been a part of Amway for over 20 years, which means I've indirectly been a part of it for over 20 years. I, 24/F, so she's saying she's 24 years old and a female, have to get the experience of growing up with Amway off my chest. Alright, so this is kind of like a rant or vent post, giving a piece of her mind, and here as follows. She says, I consider Amway the worst of the MLMs. Alright, starting off with a positive note, I see. She says, calling it a cult is fairly accurate. My dad was also part of it for maybe half as long as my mom, but quit because he was finally able to see through the indoctrination. Well, indoctrination happens in everything: food, relationships, finances, our school system, you know, working for somebody else in a 9 to 5. I mean, it comes in a lot of areas. Are they talking about that? No? Okay, well, let's continue. They have conferences and tapes/CDs of those conferences for the whole family to listen to in the car. That brainwashed members into thinking that every one of their products is the best in the world. So our house was and is currently filled to the brim with anything and everything they sell. Best is relative based on your beliefs and values, so that's important to note. And also looking at the ingredients is going to be very important, but that's a whole nother video. Let's continue. She says, our living room is written off for tax purposes as a business room because it only serves to showcase various Amway products. Interesting. She says, but Amway doesn't just sell a product, it sells a lifestyle. That could be argued with anything, whether it be Apple phones, the clothes you wear, the shoes you wear, the vacations you go on, you know, a lot of stuff. The images that people portray on social media that are, you know, museum-like quality when really it's like a hospital, because there's a lot of people that are broken and need some help. Alright, but that, hey, I digress. Let's continue. She says, my parents' library is filled exclusively with self-help books. Amway teaches similar morals and ethics, espoused in various self-help books like The Power of Positivity and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the whole motivational coaching, using a lot of quotations here, spiel, information that's supposed to be secret, mysterious, and esoteric and can only be taught through the business. Amway is marketed to make you the best, most successful person that you can be. Eric Worre does talk about how network marketing is basically just like a springboard for entrepreneurship with whatever you want to do, and I would agree, because you got to understand how to prospect, how to present, how to close, how to follow up. You know, there's a lot of skills that go on that are important to learn about in a network marketing business with whatever one is chosen. But again, this person just wants to rant and vent, so let's continue. Alright, she says, as a child I was convinced Amway was the best in the world. So she had a little 180 that she did. Okay, I wonder what that turning point was, but we'll continue. She says, how couldn't I be? I was young and easily impressionable. She says, even then, it wasn't enough. If I told my mother that Amway's in-house brand of toothpaste had a good taste, she would reprimand me. It doesn't matter if it tastes like sand. I would still... Wait. She said, I would still use it because it is the best. On an Amway business trip, my mother woke me up while I was asleep in our hotel to scold me over the travel-sized tube of toothpaste that she found in the bathroom. It was a free sample from my dentist. It's the closest experience I've had to getting caught in possession of illicit substances. I'm gonna switch hands. Ooh, this hand getting tired. Alright, here we go. I'm about to breaks them. Then she goes on to say, I would similarly get chewed out when my friends gave me gifts and when I got free beauty samples because they are not Amway brands. So I was therefore dooming my family to financial failure just by having them around. I mean, it's important to have brand loyalty if you know, like, and trust the product and products and the company. But, you know, I mean, maybe her mom went a little hard on her, but, I mean, and she clearly has maybe a little bitterness or resentfulness, but might need to forgive her mom, and the mom may need to work on her communication skills, so it's a two-way street, but let's continue. She says, even when I got a job of my own, I was explicitly prohibited from buying products outside the business. For Amway members, using an outside brand is a moral failure, making me an easy scapegoat for hurting my mom's entrepreneurship. First of all, one person should not make or break any business, because that means you're way too tied on one person's decisions. That's not wise, because if that person leaves, which there's a lot of attrition in businesses in general, but network marketing is no different, your business shouldn't be tied on one person or heavily tied on one person. One of my mentors, who started her own network marketing company, but then it went under, I'm not going to mention the name of it, but she said, if you have legs under you, meaning distributors under you as a business builder, you shouldn't have more than 40% of that volume coming from one leg. That may be violated in a lot of different businesses or network marketing businesses, but that was kind of her rule of thumb to make sure that there's more of an even distribution. I mean, ideally you would like 33%, 33%, 33% under 3 legs, or, you know, an even distribution, but it doesn't always work out that way, because you usually get like a rock star builder who just goes rampant into sharing and helping people, and then get this monster leg, you know, that you can't control anymore, that's making up like 60-70% of your volume or something. Anyway, she goes on to say, growing up I would get into heated arguments. Sounds like she needs some conflict resolution training from the book How to Solve Your People Problems. Boom. Shameless plug. Not for me, for Alan Godwin. Boom. And he's a doctor. Okay. She says, about allowing me to go to college. She would insist that my sister and I were not allowed to pursue education beyond high school because it's a waste of money, and we had to make Amway our life's career path when we turned 18. I mean, there's typically 3 paths after high school: college, entrepreneurship, or trade school for like blue-collar jobs, plumber, electrician, roofer type of stuff. I mean, there's 3 paths I see as viable. I mean, nobody should be forced into one or the other. It should be based on your skills, your goals, your effort, what you're passionate about. I mean, those are things that make more sense. But anyways, she says, after all, she went to college and she's not using her degree, so why should we go? Keep in mind, I was in elementary school when she told me this, so I was convinced I had no other choice. She only changed her mind because at an Amway get-together, she tried to poke fun at my naivety, or being naive, by telling her teammates that I was planning to do a 9-to-5 job when I grew up, implying I was a chump for doing so. Man, got a lot of mother-daughter issues that maybe need to be resolved. I mean, just outside of Amway, just like, whoa, you know. I explained that I wanted to do Amway, but I also want to go to college and start a career, and one of her teammates basically responded, yeah, Amway is just on the side. Of course you should go to college. As if it was silly for me to think that wasn't on the table. My mom was taken aback, and she was definitely expecting them to validate her. I mean, college isn't the only way, neither is entrepreneurship the only way, neither is trade school the only way. There's lots of different paths to earn income and pursue what you're passionate about. And that discussion should, again, center on what are your skills or skills that you could develop, and what are you passionate about, meaning what will you do for free until you get paid to do it. And on top of that, how long are you willing to stick with it? Okay, so she goes on to say here, oh, and it wouldn't be an MLM without the endless sales pitches. Every time we went out to eat, I had to brace myself for the embarrassment of witnessing my mother's attempts to recruit the waitstaff to become her downline. When my sister and I were younger, I have distinct memories of her using our adorable faces at stores to recruit so she could show the plan. All of my friends from school's parents got the sales talk. If they fell through, she let them know that it was because they were not ambitious or driven enough for their business. Sounds like they're being shamed. Anyways, those are shaming tactics that shouldn't be used. There was one time I told her about my friend from tennis class, but my mother didn't know how to contact her parents, so on the last day of class, my mom told me that I had to get her number or else she would not give me a ride home. Ultimatums? Oh my goodness, dang, this is this is a little much. I mean, things of not to do. Okay. An empty threat, but effective on a child, is what she noted. Under duress, I got her number, anxiously hoping that she wouldn't say no for whatever reason. Sounds like, yeah, there's some maybe manipulation or some, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff. They need to like go to family counseling and read some books. That's what it sounds like. And she needs to, you know, forgive her mom. Her mom needs to ask for forgiveness. They need to, you know, do some personal development on conflict resolution skills and communication. I mean, that's just kind of what I'm seeing, just like trying to soak that all in. It's just like, and this is again outside of Amway, but it's still part of Amway and their experience. But whew, all right. She says every now and then she did manage to successfully recruit. Many of my family friends were in Amway and were a sort of community. A lot of Amway meetings and parties at our upline's house were social get-togethers for me. I remember the video games, the karaoke, and the sleepovers, and the conversations, always weirdly veering into how Amway was going to save our lives and all that jazz. She says, I also remember babysitting kids while their parents went to Amway meetings and then underpaid the watch your mouth out of me. They looked down on me because I was never very passionate or fired up about doing the business. When someone would leave Amway, and it happened frequently, attrition's normal in any business, but network marketing is no different, side note. She says they were branded outcasts and their lives were considered to be over. We didn't speak about them again. It certainly wasn't all friendliness and fun, and I'm not particularly close to any of those people anymore. Well, that's part of the reason why I do my videos, is to explain the realities of network marketing, good and bad, and how it's important to talk about attrition. It's important to talk about how people may get off of a loyalty rewards program with my company, or it's important to understand if somebody doesn't see the benefits or uses in a product and, you know, just decides not to use them, or if they were doing the business and they choose not to. Or it's important to talk about all this because that's reality. That is what is happening, whether it's happening to you or not. It's happening to someone or me, and that's why I share these things. I know this is an Amway video, but still, there's relatable principles that can be pulled out and applied to almost anything in life if you have that perspective and look at patterns with things. Anyway, she says, I read once about the term Amway orphan, someone who never saw their parents because they were always away at Amway meetings or conferences. That may be an inaccurate descriptor for my case, especially since I was always dragged along on these business trips against my will, but there's more than a kernel of truth to it. It still hurts to think that my parents chose an Amway meeting over my 8th grade graduation, where I gave a speech to my graduating class, which is why there's no video recording of it. Again, it sounds like she needs to forgive. There's some bitterness and resentfulness. I understand it happened. I understand we got to acknowledge those feelings. We need to move on. I understand parents may have prioritized above your 8th grade graduation. They have opportunities too from a personal development standpoint, right? But again, they're venting. I get it. I'm just processing as well. That's all. I'm making some observations. You probably are too. So here we go. She says, the Amway has taken a priority and has always been more important than my wishes. There it is. That's kind of the crux is what she's describing. Despite my mother claiming that she does it all for her family. So she sees a difference between what is said and what is done, right? And so that gap is what's causing some inconsistencies and what she's, you know, wanting to get off of her chest, like she said in the very beginning. This is her therapy. This Reddit rant is her therapy. Just like sometimes video therapy is mine. The difference is I at least try to look more on both sides and be more objective, even though I still have a home team I root for and I still have, you know, my opinions about stuff, but I try to provide the facts too, you know. So anyways, she says, maybe the worst of it is when I was forced actually to attend a conference at 18. And I got to hear about how Mexicans are ruining our economy by being on welfare, getting controversial, oh snap, and throwing expensive quinceañeras when they could just join Amway and pull themselves up by their bootstraps instead of being lazy. Whoa. Dang, if that really happened, that's crazy. She says the crowd erupted, all caps, erupted, in applause whenever Mexicans were insulted. What? This is crazy. They freaking loved it. Just imagine a horde of middle-aged Indian uncles running up to the front of the audience and whooping like it's a mosh pit that they're all the way too old to be in. Oh, so she's of Indian descent, like India. Okay, I wasn't picturing that the whole time, but now I have a mental picture that completely changed. All right, here we go. Or maybe you already had that in your mind. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. Let's keep reading though. Note that I am Indian. Okay, appreciate that. And for some reason, Amway has a strong hold within the Indian demographic. Didn't know that, but okay. Probably something to do with the supposed American millionaire dream, that it offers their need to achieve it so badly, for all its talk of ethical business practice and freedom from capitalist enterprises. Amway entrenches its members even more deeply in classism and hierarchy. It is truly a system that teaches you to look down on poor people and associate affluence with virtue, honesty, and diligence. I managed to realize that Amway is not my aspiration long before this, but I think this was my awakening into realizing how deeply sinister its tactics are. I decided then and there to boycott every Amway product that I could and never looked back. Not like that though. She says Amway promises its members the success and prosperity of owning their own business while not being tethered down by a traditional system that overworks them, while simultaneously existing to the benefit of unambitious people. Okay, that's one way to put it. She says when it doesn't deliver on its promises, as if it's the company's fault or the individual's lack of skills, goals, effort, quantity and quality of their network and lead generation system, we're not going to talk about that, okay? It's because it's your own fault for being ordinary rather than extraordinary, and you clearly haven't put in the work. I mean, there is an element of working smarter and harder, but even if you do that, that still doesn't guarantee results. I mean, that could be argued for anything, but no less an Amway business or a network marketing business. So it's going to take more than that, right? There's more, and I talk about the 5 things. I just kind of rattled them off quickly earlier, but yeah, there's a lot of factors involved, and it's important to keep those factors in mind as a part of the discussion. Most people don't because they're either don't care or they're not aware. She then says that's why after 20 plus years and barely a cent earned, I mean, let's confirm how much her mom actually made, but maybe she was just a customer more so in behavior, but you know, distributor and title. She says, my mother continues to pursue Amway. Now she tells people she's not a millionaire, yet because of the health reasons. I'm 24 and taking steps to get into law school, but my mom is still convinced that I will someday be mature enough to come to my senses and become her downline. My entire family finds the scheme ridiculous, but she hasn't wavered in her beliefs. I mean, that is kind of admirable to be in something for 20 plus years. I mean, that's a long time as a whether you call yourself a distributor but you act like a customer, or you're a customer and turn into a distributor, or you're a customer and remain a customer, or whatever the scenario. That's a long time to be into something. That is admirable in general. Okay, that's loyalty like I've never seen or see rarely. So that's just a positive note. But yeah, anyways, I mean, but the mom's communication style and the way she treated her daughter could have definitely been worked upon. Okay. She then says if she gives up after already investing so much into it, she would be convinced that she's a failure. I hope this post gives some insight into the level of obsession and brainwashing Amway impart on a person. Again, that's no different than our school system. You know, when you work for a 9 to 5 and they have policies and procedures, other families and what they practice for other types of things. I mean, good night. I mean, hold on. Release me. Woo, excuse me. All right, anyways. Sneezing out the BS. That's what it is. She goes on to say, not just any MLM, but Amway's specific brand of brainwashing that makes me truly believe it's the worst out there. If you've not experienced all of them out there, then how do you know it's the worst out there? So again, that's kind of like a weird assumption, but anyways. It's impacted and strained my family dynamic more than I can put into words. I think you put in a lot of words. I mean, good night. I mean, can you say essay? I mean, because this is a lot of words here. Alright. She says, many have the opinion to simply get away from their friends that try to drag them into this. Again, you need to watch your mouth. That's what I know. Okay? She says, I didn't get away until I moved out. I felt cathartic to write this, and I'm glad this sub exists so I can read narratives and perspectives from all of you who have similarly felt scammed and manipulated by MLMs. And that's why I create YouTube videos, so we can understand her anti-MLM perspective, maybe what she went through, but also the pro-MLM perspective and what they could have done differently or better, so that, you know, when we encounter somebody in Amway, or if you're an Amway customer, or you're in network marketing, or whether you're anti-MLM, you can say, hey, I understand both sides. I'm practicing empathy. I'm trying to understand the pros and cons of each argument. I'm practicing empathy. I'm aware of what those arguments are, and I'm trying to take responsibility for my own thoughts, words, and actions so I can be a better version of myself, right? Regardless of what other people have done, because those are things that I can't control. I can't control the thoughts, words, and actions that my mom did or that whoever did, but I can go into conversations knowing these types of things and having the right training, which I'm going to talk about towards the end of this video, some resources, because you know I'm going to provide some solutions to this, so that I can better interact with others. Because the better I understand myself, the better I can interact with others. She then says, thanks for indulging in these unpleasant memories, and feel free to ask me questions. She did an edit to add, thank you so much for your comments, upvotes, and awards. Dang. I really appreciate your support, and it seems my story resonates with a lot of people here. It's incredibly twisted how a company that's supposed to advocate the importance of family has managed to devastate so many of our personal relationships. Well, hold on, speak for yourself, all right? You don't want to use a focus group of 1, 2, 3 and, you know, extrapolate that for everybody else and their mama, literally, right? So we need to make sure we're having representative samples that are representative of the whole. That's key. You can only do that with surveys and providing the right statistical analysis. Alright, so, but anyways, this is called an overgeneralization. You want to avoid those as much as you can, but it happens. So I'm just calling it out. She says, along with our finances, I hope this post can do some good and persuade those on the fence to seek other ventures. And then she says, TLDR, Scamway sucks, college is good, racism is bad. Okay, alright, and there were 3.1k upvotes at the time of this posting, 216 comments. As you can see, a lot of people kind of giving their, you know, 2 cents, 3 cents. Links for all this will be in the description below, so you can check this out. Now I want to end with giving some resources, because this was a lot of information that was told, and this video went a lot longer than I thought it would. Alright, so what are the resources? The first is the GoPro book by Eric Worre. Link will be in the description. That helps network marketers to network better than her mom did in that story. And then that will be a free book. You just pay for shipping. The other is Rise of the Entrepreneur documentary, which I highly recommend. It talks about traditional employment, which going to college is a part of that to get the traditional employment. And then it talks about the stocks, it talks about real estate, and how network marketing isn't perfect, but it is better when you look at the factors that Eric Worre talks about in that documentary. And then lastly, there is the Way of the Wolf book by Jordan Belfort, who talks about the straight line method of sales and how we need to pre-qualify people with questions and try to focus on understanding their needs and goals and seeing if there's a good fit and really trying to understand the psychology of sales so we can better interact with others. So those will be below, so whether you're in a network marketing company or not, you'll have that knowledge so real can recognize real. Or if you are in Amway, you can relate to it. Or if you've already got those resources, then you can really relate to everything I've said and have that as a filter to which viewing information becomes easier and better for you. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button if you did. Share this video with somebody that would benefit from it. And most importantly, check out the links in the description below to continue to get your learn on. And I will see you in the next video.